Joining me in studio is Justin Bonello, the man behind the ultimate Braai Master. Now he's going to give us a special sneak peek into how much work actually goes into this competition cooking show. Hello.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Now I'm excited to get some behind the scenes knowledge on how you actually put this mammoth of a show together. Now it's been widely advertised that this is the toughest season to date. What can we expect in the coming episodes?
You know, every year that we put the show together, we try and figure out how to keep South Africa on the edge of its seats, and in turn the rest of the world when the show goes global. And you know, South Africa is very fortunate that in some respects it's still a little bit like the Wild Wild West. So this year the objective was to really put the contestants through their paces, and what we did was we put a lot more tougher legs in for them. They do a lot more campering, catering for themselves, looking after themselves, which is a good and a bad thing, because it's good in terms of it takes them out of our hair. It's bad because they become very good friends along the road, and that sort of animosity you would expect in a competition where there's a big prize up for grabs doesn't happen until you get to sort of the latter stages of the game. Man, you know, it's always so difficult to let you know what is going to be happening to the contestants, because you don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, it's true.
So the biggest part of it is to say they camp a lot. There's no hot showers and nice cushy beds.
Do they turn into big babies?
Listen, we had a couple of Braai Barbies in the game, you know, who were like, I can't even wash my hair, that sort of scenario. But then there's others. There was a couple called Rod and Leslie from Team Tenacity, and they're relatively well off. And they can have any experience they want, and they had an experience with us. They would never have camped in places that we took them to, would never even have crossed their radar. They would have booked into B&Bs and five-star hotels and things, and we put them right down on the ground, down and dirty, and they loved every second of it. And what I realized out of the show is that the average South African doesn't travel. So watching the Ultimate Braai Master, you get to this vicarious experience where you get to experience all these things that you wouldn't normally do in places that you would normally never go to.
And maybe even inspire people to go to those places.
100%. You know, for me, I've traveled Southern Africa extensively, and on this entire 9,000 kilometers that we did this year, there was only 200 kilometers of a road I'd never traveled before. So it gives you some sort of idea of the amount of travel I do to put these games together.
Jeez. Now, the show is going to have guest judges this season. That's another new thing. That's exciting. Why bring in guest judges for the third season?
You know, we have obviously had new judges here in Petrus Madukela, and you know, he's from South African born and bred, a great rags to riches story. Started off as a kitchen porter in a restaurant in Pretoria, and then through hard work and determination ended up being the head chef of a restaurant called the Hingist in Elsford in London. So he's new, and he's got one of those really infectious smiles. When Petrus smiles, the whole world smiles with him. And the hope is that he'll also inspire a lot more people to that fact that if you work hard in life, you can become anything that you want, and he's living proof of it. And then this year we brought in Siba, PJ Vardas, and Andy Fenner. And you know, there's a part to it where you get to learn from them. So, you know, Andy Fenner is a great proponent of organic free-range meat, felt-fed beef, etc. So he brings that to the party, and then he helps the contestants work the meat, which is a way that the viewer can learn at the same time, because, you know, the way that we live nowadays means that we forget how to actually cook food. In fact, we spend more time watching cooking shows nowadays than we actually spend cooking. You
know, you're not the only person who said that in this studio. We had someone in just this week. She's a chef and an author, and she said that South Africans have forgotten how to cook.
100%. And well, firstly, that quote comes from, in terms of we spend more time watching cooking shows, and cooking comes from Michael Pollan's latest book called Cooked. And in it he says that fire is responsible for our evolution as a species, which is kind of cool because it allowed us to access other food sources that other animals couldn't. So you know, think of something like a potato. We can't eat it raw, but you bake it or you boil it, and suddenly you know, you have something that you can eat, which the Banting guys will tell you we mustn't, but you know, screw them.
Leave them out of this.
100%. But when we talk about forgotten knowledge, in our recent history, we've moved into cities, and we lose our village mentality. In the old days, we would have had our aunts, uncles, grandparents, sisters, brothers, whatever, living around us and supporting us, as a family. Nowadays, generally, you have a mother and a father live in a house on their own, bring up their kids on their own. Struggling because what you had a village to support you in the past, you no longer have. So now, two parents are having to bring up children entirely on their own. But also, you don't learn from your grandmother or your aunt or your mother anymore some basic cooking principles. So we don't know how to cook anymore. And what happens is most of us think, oh God, it's too much effort, and we end up buying 30-minute microwavable dinners. Which is not, for me, what it's about. You know, food has always been a celebration, and I get it that we all have minimal time, and you know, we've got to get home, cook, and then just relax, and all the rest of it. But the truth is, we just make the time, because out of it, you learn to start respecting your food. And that was the short answer to new judges. We also have Siba, and it's really cool to have her along with us. She was pregnant when she came on. She loved to eat then. I can just imagine it was like a little bit, it was all really good. And then PJ Vardis we brought in for we have an episode that works mainly around pork, and he wears a T-shirt that says "Love the lard," and that kind of says it all. And you know, when you're eating, listen, I'm a proponent for free-range organic. So when you eat an organic pig and you've got that crackling going, not many things that can compare to it.
You sprained 2 of your ankles while shooting. What? What happened?
We have, in the middle of most seasons, we have a time when we bring the contestants and the crew together, and this year we had what we call a boogie burger burry night. Yeah. And I got a bit inebriated. And I was having a conversation to someone and I was teasing them, and karma hit me straight away. I stood where I thought there was a rock, there was no rock, and I did my right ankle. So fortunately we had one of those boots on the thing and things, so I was then on crutches and wandering around on this boot and things until we could get to a hospital to make sure it wasn't more serious and things, and I had torn ligaments in my right ankle.
Oh my God.
So 3 weeks later I'm just starting to hobble around. Now, every time we do a shot I gotta throw the crutches away, take off the boots and stand up and do, I'm all right, nothing's happened. And then we were filming on the top of a pass when we were back in South Africa, and we'd crawled up this mountain to shoot a beautiful sunrise shot. We have what we call an epic, an epic opener, which is I'm standing on the top of so-and-so pass, down below me is this little town and teams are arriving and all the rest of it. And I was protecting my right ankle, so I stood heavily on my left ankle and I did the same thing. So then now I can't even walk down the mountain. I say we're on a mountain. Now I've got to crawl down the mountain on my ass. Yeah, no, 100%. I don't have the crutches or anything with me. We get down to the car. Sunal, she's my director of photography now, is to drive me down the mountain because now I can't even drive anymore. We get to the medic and another boot. So there's photographs of me with 2 moon boots on. And crutches. And I mean, the last episode was exactly that. I had crutches, 2 moon boots on. Every time we film, crutches away or try and hobble around on painkillers. And it's that older days when it comes to making shows, the show goes on, so you can't stop.